Radio check, loud and clear. Hopefully, you guys should be able to hear me. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. And let's get underway for free practice 2 here in Bahrain. We are 30 minutes away from the start of free practice 2. It has got a lot darker in Bahrain, and this will be our first session under the lights this season. Yeah, we've had, of course, day races for Australia, China and Japan. So this is the first time the 2025 cars are going to be seen under the lights. And yeah, it'll be the first time for some of these rookies as well, racing at night time. I don't think any of the junior races in Formula 2 take part at night. I think the sprint races and the feature races in Formula 2, even in Bahrain, they do take part in the day, and I think the same for Abu Dhabi, or maybe not in Abu Dhabi. I'm not 100% certain, but nonetheless, yeah, first time under the lights, and the drivers will have their visor tear-offs ready, when they switch over from sort of daylight visor to a nighttime visor with, protection for the huge floodlights that could potentially be going into their eyes. Yeah. Alright, got 800 people into the stream. Thanks everyone for tuning in. Be sure to hit the like button. Be sure to hit the subscribe button as well. Okie dokes. So, here we are, underway with free practice 2. So, yeah, we will have Verstappen. We'll have all of the drivers as normal in free practice 2. Currently up on the screen, we've got the timings from free practice 1. Free practice 1 really isn't a particularly representative session, and that's mainly because the race will be taking part at night time, qualifying will be taking place at night time, and hence the only important session that we really have is FP2. FP3 kind of important just before qualifying as the drivers build up to it, but much more important is this free practice 2 session. So we'll be getting the hard tyres and the medium tyres. They'll be going some long runs at the start of the session, and then we'll move on to soft tyre runs by the end of the session. All right. Good morning. Yeah, here in the UK, it's a nice Friday afternoon here at 3:30 p.m. The first race actually, where I've actually been awake, like properly, for the free practice 1 and free practice 2 sessions. All of the other sessions, I've kind of been like half zombie, half awake, for the free practice sessions because they were at very odd time zones, to be fair. All right. What else have we really got going on? So in free practice 1, we had a lot of rookies going through. I'll talk you through the rookies, why not? And then we'll move on to the engine talk. There's been some talk in between free practice 1 and free practice 2 by the FIA, by the teams, about what the engines are going to be in 2026. You would have thought that for the cars that are being developed for next year, the engine being the most critical part of the car, they would have decided if the engines were going to be 4-cylinder engines or 10-cylinder engines. But no, that was still in discussion till today, which is kind of mind-blowing, really. I wouldn't have expected it to be that unorganised. Oh, someone has just rung the doorbell. That is very strange. Let me just have a look out the window. I have no idea who that is, so I'm just not going to open the door. Well, I have no idea if there's actually anyone there. It's just got a doorbell. Anyway, doesn't matter. Back to the coverage. We have got... so let me talk you through the rookies, and we'll talk about the engines. So the rookies that we had driving in free practice 1, of course, not the normal rookies, the free practice 1 rookies, shall we say. We had... let's go from the top. The quickest rookie we had was Luke Browning in 13th place for Williams. He had done a fantastic job driving around that Williams. He didn't have so many issues, really. He did have a couple of lockups here and there, but still, nonetheless, good start for him driving at the Williams team. He was taking Carlos Sainz's seat. Then we had Dino Beganovic stepping in for Charles Leclerc in 14th place there at the end of FP1. He did a good job in the Ferrari, and he's part of the Ferrari Driver Academy, currently in Formula 2. I think he's a race winner in Formula 2 as well, so should be good for him. Then we have got Felipe Drogovic in 16th place. We've seen him step in a few times for yeah, we've seen Felipe Drugovich step in a few times in free practice 1 sessions for Fernando Alonso for Lance Stroll, and this is another time that he has done exactly that. Then we have Ryo Hirokara in 17th place. He, of course, took part in the FP1 session back in Suzuka as well, and he's just doing the same here, and he's driving for Haas this time. Then we have Frederick Vesti driving the Mercedes in 18th position, and then we have Ayumu Iwasa driving the Red Bull in 19th position. And as you can see, he's 2.2 seconds off the pace, and that Red Bull was a little bit of a handful, really, as we already know from all of the drivers that have tried to drive it, apart from Max Verstappen, and had a very, very tough time. Okay. What else have we got going on today? It is 7:30 here, building some ignition harnesses. Oh, that's very interesting. Okay, is Kimi good now? Kimi Antonelli did have a issue with his water pump. I suspect that issue will have been resolved by now. Nothing too much to really look into there. Sooner or later we'll find out if he's going to make his way out of the garage, but I suspect Mercedes will have fixed a water pump issue and a water leak or something along those lines, and he should be fine for free practice too. And he hasn't really missed out that much because there were so many rookies on the track that it wasn't really the most representative session. The track temperature was so high up, and it's not going to be that high in the race, so also not all that representative. And the other thing was it's just not the right part of the day. So, yeah. Okay, now, the big thing, the big topic to talk about, it is the engines for 2026. So, as of right now, we have got, in Formula 1, let's say, we've got a 90%, by the looks of it, I think we've got around about 900 horsepower or 850 horsepower coming from the combustion engine, the 1.6 litre V6. That is, that is the amount of power that the teams will be able to extract from that V6 combustion engine, right? From the twin turbos for the V6, all of that combined will give you 850 brake horsepower, or maybe 850 horsepower. I'm not sure if it's brake horsepower or horsepower, but nonetheless, it is that much power that the teams can get from the internal combustion engine, and then the electric motors, the hybrid system, will give them an extra little boost, I think, of around 150 horsepower. It's something along those lines, and in total, the cars add up to have 1,000 horsepower approximately. Of course, we don't know the exact numbers, the teams don't publish them, but it is something approximately like that. But now, for 2026, what they are planning to do, they are changing the engines from an 850 horsepower to 150 horsepower split from internal combustion engine to electric. They're going to shift that to 550 horsepower generated by the internal combustion engine and 450 horsepower generated by the electric motor. Now, yeah, that's exactly what they're doing. So that is the big sort of change that they're doing, and to do that, they're reducing the size of the internal combustion engine, increasing the size of the batteries, increasing the size of the electric motors, and the big thing is they're going from a V6 engine to a V4 engine. You rarely hear of a V4 engine. Rather, you just have a 4-cylinder engine, like a straight 4 or a boxer 4. But now they're going to go to a 4-cylinder engine for the 2026 cars, which I don't know how good that's going to sound, to be honest with you guys. And then they're going to have a electric motor outputting 450 horsepower worth of electricity. So that is the talk. That's the talking point. However, the interesting news, the spicy news, is that some teams are happy with that, some teams are not. And, well, if we have a look at which teams were... There were some teams that were saying, oh, we want to change this. We don't want 450 electric horsepower. We actually would much prefer much more internal combustion engine power. It was the manufacturers of Ferrari, Cadillac, and Red Bull powertrains. These three engine manufacturers were saying, actually, I'd much prefer if we went back to V10s and we had only a little bit of electric horsepower. We want more internal combustion engine power, less electric power. And the other teams
Mercedes, Audi, and Honda. So we got 6 engine manufacturers. 3 of them were saying, Mercedes, Audi, and Honda were saying, oh no, we want to stick with high hybrid regulations of 450 horsepower for the electric motor and 550 horsepower for the engine, for the internal combustion engine. So there was sort of a stalemate, really. There were 3 teams that were saying, oh, we want to stick with the current planned rules because they think their engine development is going well. And then there were 3 other teams, Ferrari, Cadillac, and RB Powertrains, that were saying that actually we would quite like it if you change those regulations because we don't think our engine is all that good for next year. So if you can change the regulations and sort of give everyone a bit of a reset, then that means that we have a better chance of being closer to everyone else. So yeah, they were in this bit of stalemate. They were, maybe we're going to switch to 70% internal combustion engine, 30% electric power. But in the end, it has continued on. We are going to stay with the 4-cylinder engine. We are going to stay with the 550 horsepower from internal combustion engine, 450 from electric, and that is the way it's going to be, really. So Ferrari, Cadillac, and RB aren't going to be particularly happy about that. However, what they have done is they've been able to organise a meeting with the FIA saying that in a couple of weeks' time, we're going to have another meeting discussing whether strict homologation regulations cannot be relaxed, to sort of offset a possible performance deficit. So just in a scenario where we have a 2014 like scenario where Mercedes are huge leaps and bounds ahead of everyone else, and everyone else is left behind, is there a potential way to maybe slow down the top teams or give some extra fuel flow to the slower teams? And they're going to look into that because Ferrari, Cadillac, and RB aren't particularly confident, I'm guessing, in their engines as of this current moment. Which is a bit annoying. All right, well, we'll see. I don't know what is up with a V4. Okay. F1 Gamer, hey, when you get your engineering degree, remember if you ever need a IPC CIT electrical guy. Well, I will do. Don't know exactly what an IPC CIT electrical guy is, but I'll have a look later on. Right. FP1 had rookies, and it was just about data, and it wasn't representative in terms of lap time, it wasn't representative in terms of track temperature, so you might as well just ignore what happened in FP1. All right. I think you guys are wrong. I think you're wrong about the V4 part. The official F1 engine says it's just a V6 losing the MGUH and gaining more electric power. Maybe. I will have a double check. But I don't know how, because see, this is the thing. Currently, the V6s generate 850 horsepower. So then how are they going to, I guess they'll probably just reduce the fuel flow rate and say, we're going to have less fuel going into the cylinders. Or maybe they'll say, if they have less fuel going into the cylinders, that means the RPM has to go down, which is just bad news, really, because ideally we want as high RPM as possible to make the engine scream. So what other alternatives do they have? They can make the engine smaller. So right now it's a 1.6 litre engine. You could reduce that down to a 1 litre engine. You could get rid of the twin turbos maybe to reduce the horsepower. I don't know. I guess we'll see. Okay, is this FP2? Indeed it is. I'm just saying, if you make it to the F1 paddock for work, you drag me with you, brother. Indeed. I don't know. I don't know what the F1 teams would sort of think of me, doing a commentary stream and stuff like that, because, that I'm sure they'll like the fact that, I'm interested in Formula One and I'm passionate and things like that. But then there's also the chances that I wouldn't be available to work on Friday, Saturday, Sunday because I'd be commentating. Well, I would probably have to work on Fridays, but on Saturday and Sunday, rather than helping out with the team, I'd be commentating. Don't know about that one. I don't know. We'll see. At F1 Gamer, who is your pick for the Cadillac lineup in 2025? Checo, Bottas, Herta, Zhou, Van Dorn, Fittipaldi, Kirkwood, I'm going to go with Herta and Bottas. That is my pick. Yeah, that's what I think. All right. Science still not in FP2 and FP3. Science will be in it. All of the drivers will be back. All of the drivers that weren't in FP1, they'll be driving back as standard in FP2. Currently, just up on the screen, we've got the free practice 1 timings. We're still waiting for the free practice 2 data to load up. It'll take around about 4 or 5 more minutes, and then we'll have the free practice 2 data up on the screen. Okay. I love the new colours, thank you very much. We'll have 22 cars on the grid as well next year, with Cadillac being the new fresh team joining us, not replacing any team. Indeed we will. Yeah, we'll have Audi as well. They'll be replacing Kick Sauber, and then we'll have Cadillac next year. Very, very exciting, to be honest. And I'm going to have to rejig my setup. Going to have space for 22 drivers. It should be fine. I'll just push down the text that we've got right now at the bottom, and I'll have 22 drivers. Yeah. What else will I have to do for some new cars? Well, I'll have to learn everything about Cadillac F1, to be honest. There's going to be a lot of changes for 2026 anyway, so a lot of new stuff will have to be learned. Okay, we've got 2,000 people tuning into the live stream. Thank you everyone for tuning in. If you haven't hit the like button, be sure to do so. And if you are not subscribed, then be sure to do that one as well. Hopefully we can make our way towards 140k subs for the end of today. That will be fantastic. We are 685 subscribers away. 685 subscribers away. Should be possible for sure. All right. Yeah, also, folks, if you do prefer watching over on Twitch, there is a link in the description for a Twitch stream, I think. At least it should be, if I remember to put it in. Actually, it isn't. The link to my Twitch is F1_gamer_5. So if you want to go watch on Twitch, then that's the place to go. Okay. Yep, the race will be on the same time on Sunday. Let's have a look. What time will the race be on Sunday? Yep. So, ladies and gentlemen, whatever time it is now, that is the time you should be tuning in on Sunday for the race. Yeah, the race will be starting in 48 hours, I guess. Yeah, 48 hours and 13 minutes. Bro, I missed the OG Okie Dokie, folks. Yeah, I mean, I've got to reintroduce the Okie Dokie. I'm not sure. But I've also got to be slightly more professional. I shall see. What driver do you support? Well, my favourite driver is Seb Vettel, but apart from that, I don't know. Right now on the current grid, haven't got a real favourite. Maybe Alonso, maybe Piastri, maybe Tsunoda. Not particularly sure. Just a big fan of all the action, really. If everyone's right next to each other, then that would be fantastic. What time is the qualifying? The qualifying will be taking place tomorrow. So it'll be 1 hour from now tomorrow. So whatever it'll be in 25 hours rather than 24 hours. Yeah. Okay, the race after this one will have softer tyre compounds. God, I hate that nonsense. Well, no, I don't think it's actually the worst thing in the world. Pirelli will bring a new tyre compound this year. So I don't know if you guys know. Oh, we've got something glitching out up on the screen. I don't know why, but I think we've got the free practice 2 data come through. Yeah, the free practice 2 data is coming through in just 30 seconds now. And yeah, the softer tyres for Pirelli is actually an upside because the quicker the tyres wear out, the more pit stops we have. And if we have more pit stops, it's hopefully a 2-stop race, which makes things a lot more exciting than the 1-stop we had at Suzuka. Yeah. Can tell Norris is not a favourite of yours. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I try not to be biased, but of course, as a human being, biasness is always going to happen. Yeah, I don't know. Norris has made some comments which don't particularly sit right with me, but you know, it is what it is. He's still a very quick driver, and he's been doing well. He scored more points than Piastri, but I think Piastri will be approaching very, very soon. And they'll have their. I think McLaren will have their own sort of Lewis Hamilton, Nico Rosberg moment at some point. At some point this season, they're going to start fighting amongst themselves, and I will be here for it. You'll have the team radios on the right hand side of the screen. We'll be able to listen to both drivers complain about each other. We'll be able to see what Zach Brown's saying as well. Yeah. Okay. Right. So we've got the free practice 2 data. Here we go. Fantastic. And we'll be underway for free practice 2 in 9 minutes and 50 seconds. Fantastic. Is this FP2? Indeed it is. And we've got Max Verstappen back on the screen. We've got all of the drivers as standard back driving as normal. They should make the cars have lower prices and do Super GT, Super Formula, share the engines with the Formula cars. Yeah, no, they're not going to really do that, are they? Because the whole thing with Formula 1 is we've got a bunch of money to spend to hopefully become the fastest car. And maybe they can use some similar components. Like, I think the gearbox, I think that right now they've got a homologated gearbox. You can't really update your gearbox, can you? I don't think you can. At least they were talking about. Oh no, maybe you do have separate gearboxes for separate teams. I think I can't actually remember. It's been a long time since I've thought about gearbox, because it was, I think back in 2018, you used to have a lot more gearbox failures, but then since then we have gearbox failures have been an issue of the past. All right. Okay. Yeah. Track temperature is down to 36 degrees, so still 10 degrees warmer than it was in pre-season testing. However, 10 degrees cooler than what it was earlier today. So that should really help out all of the drivers. The race reports the return to V10 engines is postponed until at least 2029. The decision was made following a meeting with the power unit manufacturers held today in Bahrain. Indeed, I was just talking about that about 10-15 minutes ago. But yes, that is exactly what's happened. And what that means is... what that means is basically they were doing some calculations with potentially having a V10 engine, just like sort of off the back of a paper kind of thing, and they were doing what the fuel flow rate be like for a V10 engine if we want to get to 10,000 RPM, or not 10,000, 20,000 RPM with a V10 engine. What is the fuel flow rate going to be? What is the power going to be coming out of this engine? Are we going to have turbos? Are we not? And then how much batteries will we need for the split of horsepower between the engine and the electric motors, and all of these things, right? They play a pretty critical role in deciding whether these regulations are going to be a good set of regulations or not. The cars are going to say, of course, you're going to have the active aerodynamics. They're all going to change everything up, and you're also going to have the active aerodynamics are going to change a lot of things, and then the engine change is also going to change a lot. So they've got to make sure that the engines are within the weight limits as well, because for example, if we say, we want V10s and we want a big displacement V10, like a 3-litre V10 engine, currently we've got a 1.6-litre V6, so we're increasing the number of cylinders, we're increasing the displacement size of all of the cylinders, we're going to have to increase the diameter of all of the rods and the shafts and everything that connects all of the engine components together, and then you suddenly get a car that is 50-70 kilograms overweight, and the racing gets even worse. Like, the ideal thing about these cars would be make them smaller so they have less downforce, make them smaller so they have a smaller engine, but somehow keep the engine sounding good, keep it screwing up to 20,000 RPM, keep them light and nimble, and I don't know. It's a complex set of regulations, complex thing to sort of figure out properly, but we shall see. We shall see if the FA can do it. Right. Yeah, with the amount of experience they have with the turbo V6 engines and their gearboxes, the design's pretty much rock solid. And yeah, that's exactly why we have had barely engine failures. In fact, I forgot to mention it at the Japanese Grand Prix. And maybe I mentioned it halfway through the stream, but I didn't mention it at the end. And we didn't have a single DNF in the Japanese Grand Prix stream. Not in the stream, in the race. There was not a single DNF. And that puts it, I think, somewhere in 15 races in Formula One history that have never had a DNF. I don't know the exact number off the top of my head, but yeah, there have been like 15 races or so in Formula One history that have never had a DNF, and quite a lot of them have started to come at the end of this turbo hybrid era, where we have had very good engine reliability. Don't think you can get 20k RPM out of big displacement engine primary and secondary imbalances, get huge more with moving metal mass. Yeah, it is a big issue, really, and they have to add like sort of counterweights to sort of prevent the engine shaking itself to pieces. But yeah, I don't know. Isn't it is it an inline 6 that is perfectly balanced or something? I can't remember. I think it's an inline 6 that is perfectly balanced, or at least has the least sort of vibrational issues. But I honestly, I don't know too much about engines. Las Vegas, the engine blew up. Alpine went too fast. Oh yeah, the Alpine, they down the back straight. He got such a good toe that he went over speed on his gearbox, and his final 8th gear just broke because he was going so quickly. Yeah, inline 4 or an inline 6 are balanced. Okay, but obviously then that's not a V4 or a V6. So I guess an inline 6. They could do it, but I don't know. Do you want an inline 6 or do you want a V6? I don't know, actually. Is there a sound difference? I'm sure there is. But yeah, you could probably just get Lexus or Yamaha to tune the exhaust to make the exhaust notes sound fantastic. That is the idea that I came up with. I don't know. I came up with it sometime in 2024, but basically, the Lexus LFA, which is a fantastic car, and it's got a fantastically sounding V10. That was their engine was specifically tuned. I don't know if Lexus brought in Yamaha. I think Lexus did. Yamaha, of course, they have a lot of experience doing motorbikes, but also they have musical experience. They make guitars, they make pianos. In fact, I have a Yamaha guitar right next to me. But yeah, they tuned the they brought Yamaha in, and they were like, right, we need this engine to sound absolutely amazing. Can you play around with the geometry of the exhaust to make sure that all the engine notes sound perfect? And, Yamaha did their magic, and the engine sounds fantastic. So surely the FIA, they don't even have to bring in Yamaha. They just have to say, this is going to be a fixed exhaust, and this is going to sound fantastic. Who knows? Maybe that can happen. All right. We're 2 minutes away from the start of practice. Just this little advert that's playing at the bottom right there. Sponsored by F1 TV. So if you guys are interested in getting F1 TV with all of the coverage, all of the onboards, all of the team radios, the link is in the description. Okay, subscribe today, mate. Enjoying your stuff. Thank you very much, Squawk. I'm watching from Vegas. Well, that's a fantastic place to be watching. Yeah. All right, currently the order on the screen doesn't mean anything. It's just a random order. I don't actually know how it's even been decided, but I genuinely just think it's totally random. I can't sort of see any sort of reason to how they've ordered that. And yeah, we should be underway very, very shortly. Okay, I might start a petition to remove the wheel covers on Formula One. Who's signing? Honestly, removing the wheel covers would be incredible because, okay, it will have some negative aerodynamic effects. However, just imagine the drivers, they're going into turn number 1 at Monza. They're going into any turn number 1 with any huge braking zone, and you see those brakes light up. You see those brakes start glowing red hot. I mean, I just think it'll be spectacular. Yeah, so in my personal opinion, they should get rid of the wheel covers. Yeah, sure, it'll be less aerodynamic, and maybe you'll have slightly more dirty air, but it would look so cool. And they should also have underglow, because why not? You know, the car's already so low to the ground. Like, just add some LED strips, make the cars go full neon mode. All right. What kind of music do you do? I have an electric guitar that I admittedly haven't played in a very long time, but you know, it's still here in my room next to me. What time is it in my country? It is 4 p.m. UK time, and we are 20 seconds away from a green light at the end of the pit lane. We've already got drivers lining up. In fact, Charles Leclerc makes his way out, Oliver Behrman makes his way out, so does Esteban Ocon. They're all lining up at the end of the pit lane, and we shall be underway very, very soon. Okay. MGUH is the reason why F1 cars are quiet. I think partially, I'm not 100% certain on why the MGUH would make the car quiet, but I do also agree that the MGUH will in some way have a negative effect on the audio, you know, the auditory experience, shall we say, of the cars. And yeah, Leclerc's out, Behrman's out, Bortoletto, Ocon, all making their way out to the pits now. We got we got a full hour of practice here, and yeah, let's get rid of this countdown timer. Fantastic. And here we are underway for free practice 2. Ooh. Alright folks, also if you have any of the like button, please be sure to do so. Hopefully we can make our way towards 2,000 likes by the end of the stream. And the YouTube algorithm absolutely loves it when you press the like button, especially at the start of the live stream. So it would very much be appreciated if you guys could press the like button. Yeah. Do you think inline 5s could replace V6s in F1 since 5 cylinders are considered baby V10s? Yeah, I mean, okay, the thing is, the problem with the inline 5 is that it's not a balanced engine, and because of that, the teams would have to add counterweight to make sure everything's absolutely perfect, to make sure the engine doesn't shake itself to pieces. And that's the only downside I can see, really, because these engines, you know, they are precisely manufactured machines. In fact, I don't know if you guys, if I've mentioned this on stream before, but Formula One cars, they are so precisely manufactured that before the engine is allowed to start, what happens is the teams have to inject warm cooling fluid. They have to inject, like, normally, you know, you would say the cooling fluid would just be ambient temperature. It'd be like whatever air temperature is in Bahrain. So let's say 30 degrees. But the engine physically will not start at, if the coolant temperature of the engine is 30 degrees, it has to be given coolant temperature of 80 degrees, 90 degrees for all of the metals to expand to the correct size, and then once the metals are the correct size, that's when the engine will start running. Otherwise, the engine will just seize itself, and is it seize or caps? I don't think it's capsize. Capsize. I don't know why I'm mixing these two words up, but either way, like, these engines are precisely manufactured machines, and even having a slight imbalance in the design itself probably isn't the best way to design these cars. All right. Yeah, it's not a boat. It's not going to capsize. Yeah, okay. I don't know why I thought of the word capsize. Anyway, all right, Kimi Antonelli's back out onto the circuit, so his water pump issue has been fixed. George Russell will be making his way out very, very soon as well. And apart from that, we've got everyone else out on the circuit. What time is FP3? FP3 will be, so whatever time it is now in the world for you. If you go back 2.5 hours, then that is... 2.5 hours, then that's when FP3 will be taking place tomorrow. Okay, yeah, here we go then. We have got Charles Leclerc, top of the times as of now, 1:33.348. At the end of preseason testing, we saw the lap times dip to the 1:29.1s. So we still got four seconds worth of lap time to gain compared to preseason testing, and yeah, all right. What are the team upgrades for the 2025 Bahrain Grand Prix? That is a fantastic question. The team upgrades are Ferrari have brought a new floor and a new diffuser. So they have, well, slightly modified the edges of the floor. They've modified the geometry underneath the floor, and they've also modified the geometry of the diffuser. Hamilton, when he first went out onto the circuit, he said that the car feels terrible or horrendous or horrible, one of those three words, and he didn't particularly like it. But I have a feeling they will have modified the setup. They will have got things to work, and I have a feeling that the Ferrari will be looking good. All right, and apart from that, McLaren have a small upgrade to their front wing, to their front brake ducts. Red Bull have a small upgrade to their front wing, and then Haas have got some changes to their cooling ducts, and apart from that, everyone else has got no upgrades for this weekend. So Ferrari are the only team with the big upgrade package. Everyone else has got fairly small upgrade packages, and yeah, that's about sums it up, really. Hamilton goes top of the times, nicely into the 132.1 for him. We got Antonelli coming across the line at 132.3 from him on a set of soft tyres. We'll see what Max Verstappen can do. He's currently on a flying lap, but I think he's backed out of it. Indeed, he has. So we'll find out soon. We'll find out later what Max Verstappen's quick lap will really be, but he made a mistake going into turn number 9 and 10. He said the ride of the car is very bad. It's bouncing a lot, and he missed up. He didn't brake. He didn't lock up or anything, but he just missed his braking point. The car, and he missed his apex, and aborted the lap. So apparently the car is set a little bit too low and it's bouncing about, so I'm sure they'll modify the setup a little bit on Verstappen's car, and they should be good to go. At F1 Gamer, was the Flexi-wing banged this race? No. So I'll just do a quick history of the Flexi-wing. There was the mini DRS thing that they had back in Baku last year, and then the FIA came up with a rule. They're like, right, this is not allowed, so that got removed pretty much straight away. Like after a race or two, the mini DRS that McLaren had, that was gone. And then McLaren still did have a flexible rear wing, and they still did have a flexible front wing. And then, so what they did was, and then the FIA was like, after they said, oh, we're not going to make any changes until the Spanish Grand Prix next year, which was, Spanish Grand Prix this year in 2025. So the teams continued on slightly modifying their, setups and things like that, and their cars, and McLaren still had the most flexible wings out of everyone. We reached Australia, McLaren had even more flexible wings than was expected. So then the FIA were like, right, well, we're not going to wait till the Spanish Grand Prix this year. We're going to bring some of those rule changes forward to the Chinese Grand Prix. So they did. And the McLaren wings obviously flexed a lot less at the Chinese Grand Prix. They passed all of the FIA tests, and it was fine. And then they did the same at Japan. Their wings flexed ever so slightly, but they still passed all the FIA tests, and they're doing the same this weekend as well. They have not modified their wings; they're still passing the FIA tests, and until they fail an FIA test, I doubt McLaren will change their wings. Once we reach the Spanish Grand Prix, when the rules fully change over to the no flex wings, then we'll see McLaren's wings stop flexing. But until that point, they're going to have a small little bit of flex here and there, whereas the other teams may not have that. At F1 Gamer, was the low floor reason why Hamilton won the Sprint Grand Prix? That is exactly why Hamilton won the Sprint Grand Prix and had no pace for the other races. We can talk about this. We got not too much going on the circuit, really. Antonelli and Russell out on softs, interestingly enough, but second and third for them. Hamilton still with a fantastic lap. We got Alonso going slowly, and he may have an issue there. Alonso, having some sort of issue with his engine. Antonelli with an issue with his engine pump, and Alonso saying, oh my god, the steering wheel's just come off. Oh no, they've said change steering wheel. Okay, so Alonso's on purpose took off the steering wheel. What? This is very strange. I've never seen this happen before. I don't know if Alonso surely Alonso didn't accidentally pull off the steering wheel, but okay. So he was going down the straight. Suddenly, I don't know, lost power or something, and then Alonso was told over the radio that he should change the steering wheel. So he did. He took it off, put it back on again, and now he's taken them back into the pits to obviously get whatever issue was fixed properly. We have seen this from previous occasions. We've seen this a couple of times where they've done a switch of the steering wheel at a pit stop. There was some sort of issue with the car, and the steering wheel had gone into some safety mode and it wasn't coming out of it, or there was some issue, and they were like, right, well, we're not going to deal with this. We're not going to be able to tell the driver how to fix it, modify the code while racing. So they were like, right, time to come into the pits. We'll unplug this steering wheel, put a new one in, and everything should be good to go. And they had done that, and it worked. So yeah, I think that's just what they've done with Alonso. But it looked a little bit strange. It looked like slightly unintentional from Alonso when he took off his steering wheel, like as if he wasn't expecting it to come off. Strange. Turning your F1 car on and off again in the middle of driving. Yeah, that's exactly what they mean by just unplugging the steering wheel and plugging it back in again. Hadjar told to pit and turn engine off. I mean, that's fairly standard stuff, really. If he's going to the pits and he's going to sit in there for a while, then that's what they'll be doing. I think Hamilton had it in the McLaren. Oh yeah, I think that must have been the case that I'm thinking about. I can't remember which year it was, or even which driver it was, but maybe it was Hamilton in the McLaren. Yeah. All right. Here we are then. We've got 50 minutes left of this session. Verstappen still 19th place, and it doesn't look like his middle sector's getting any better. Just woke up. What did I miss? And who was the top three at the beginning? Well, given that it's the free practice one wasn't particularly representative, so that doesn't really matter, but you haven't really missed much, to be honest. Antonelli had a engine issue had a water pump issue in free practice 1, and Alonso's had to unplug his steering wheel and plug it back in, but apart from that, not much. Norris has come over the radio saying, I need to change helmet, change hands device, and clean the headrest. So some sort of issue there with Norris. He's not been able to look out the car properly, and pretty critical, being able to see where you're going. So he'll be coming into the pits very soon to change that visor and things like that. Wait, does all the car's control logic all get crammed into the steering wheels? I'm not 100% certain. I think there is there must be an ECU somewhere else, but I don't think all of the control logic is crammed onto the steering wheel. However, the steering wheel is sort of an interface to interact with the ECU, and I don't think the ECU is on the steering wheel itself. It must be somewhere near the engine, but I imagine the way the system is set up is that if it detects the steering wheel being removed, it will revert back to its sort of default state. It'll be like, right, we're going to revert back to position 1 where we know everything works, and then we're going to go from there. So I think that's why they sort of unplug the steering wheel, plug it back in, or remove the steering wheel, swap it with another steering wheel, to sort of reset the entire ECU. Yeah. But I'm not 100% certain on that. You'd have to ask an engineer. It just makes sense that they wouldn't put the whole ECU on the steering wheel, given that it rotates around and all manner of things really. I wouldn't particularly want to put electronics and wires coming out of those electronics on a thing that's rotating around. Doesn't particularly make much sense. The 2012 Indian GP, Lewis had a problem and they changed the steering wheel. Okay, well, thank you very much. Proactive, omnipresent vessel. It's an interesting name. Lando Norris goes straight on turn number 1. We've seen a lot of drivers having braking issues here. You've got to get the brake balance right. You've got to get the brake migration right. And I will explain brake migration in a little bit. But the DRS zones on this circuit, we've got one DRS zone down the main straight here where Russell and Albon are. Then we've got another DRS zone between turn number 3 and turn number 4, where Stroll is just approaching now, just on this part of the circuit. And then we've got another DRS zone here where Hulkenberg is, just going down the back straight here towards turn number 11. So those are the DRS zones on this circuit. There's no DRS zone on the where Tsunoda and Norris are right now, because if they added another DRS zone there, it would just be a little bit too powerful, and all the drivers would just overtake very, very easily. And that's why we've only got 3. Brilliant. So we got Verstappen with a nice quick lap there, 1:32.3. Russell is going green in the first sector where he goes up on Hamilton's time, but Hamilton is like, no thank you there, mate, and sets a purple first sector, goes quicker than Russell in the first sector. Very, very nice. And we'll see what their times come out to, but the lap times are tumbling, and track temperature is 25.1 degrees Celsius. And the reason why, normally in free practice 2 sessions, when they're doing their qualifying simulations for these night races, they do them right at the end of the session. However, because qualifying is 1 hour early, wait, is it now? Oh no, I don't know why they're doing their qualifying sessions, quali runs now, because the end of today's session is the start of qualifying, is the time that qualifying will be starting tomorrow. So it makes sense for them to do their quali runs right at the end of the session. I don't know, I guess they're just getting it done out of the way, really. It's probably because they want their race data to be a little bit more representative, and their race data is relevant to the time right now. Did Hamilton get blocked? Maybe he did, maybe he made a mistake. I will catch the onboard for you and let you know in a sec. But Russell improves, he goes 0.2 quicker than Lewis Hamilton, and Hamilton backs out of his lap. So not ideal. Not ideal there for Lewis Hamilton, the Ferrari driver. Oh, we've got a replay here. George Russell slightly exceeded track limits, I think, at turn number 4. He still was on the curb, but, all 4 wheels off the white line. And that might have cost him. If it was an actual qualifying session, he would have got his lap time deleted, I think. Yeah. All right, we got 760 likes. Thank you, everyone, for hitting the like button. Very much is appreciated. And, yeah, F1 Gamer, what do those yellow dots mean? I think you're referring to these yellow rectangles here. But basically, these are the mini sectors. So, let's follow on board with Lewis Hamilton. Say, Hamilton currently isn't on a flying lap, but every single little part of the circuit that he drives across, that is a mini sector, and it's basically measuring his lap time from the start of that little part of the track to the end of that little part of the track. If it's yellow, it means it's slower than his personal best. If it is green, for example, like here on Charles Leclerc's laps, then that was quicker than his personal best. And if it is purple, actually nobody's got a purple up, but if it's purple, then it's fastest out of anyone. And if it's blue, then that means the driver has just come out of the pit lane. So Lawson here, as you can see on the track map, he's just come out of the pits, and this blue part represents him driving out of the pit lane. Yeah. Brilliant. Did Ferrari do any improvements? Well, yeah, Ferrari have done improvements. It looks like their updates can officially be confirmed to be upgrades rather than downgrades. The Oscar's car is actually sparking quite a lot. I don't know. Seems a little strange, but he should be fine. Should be able to. If they realize the plank wear is a little bit too high, then they will increase the height of the car. What do the slashes on the tyre means? The slashes on the tyre, so if there is a slash, that means the driver came out of the pits on a used set of tyres. If there isn't a slash, that means they came out of the pits on a fresh set of tyres. Just a little bit of information for, it's a lot more relevant once we're in qualifying, so we can find out who's come out on a fresh set, who's come out on a used set. But as of right now, in practice, it's not the most relevant thing in the world. Can the mechanics and the team change certain things in the car from the base, like remote control? No. So the thing that the FIA have sort of stipulated is that any changes to the car itself all must be done from the driver's steering wheel. Like the engineers are not allowed to sort of just sit in the pit box and say, oh, we're going to change this, and then do it off their computers. It all has to be done by the driver. And yeah, that's it. Okay. Have we got any more questions on the chat? Quali predictions. I'm going to go with. I said this in FP1. I'm going to go with Yuki Tsunoda being within 3 places of Max Verstappen. And yeah, we had a replay from Lewis Hamilton here, and yeah, he locked up going into turn number 8. In fact, since we haven't got much action on the circuit, I shall take you through an onboard of the track and show you exactly where Lewis Hamilton locked up. Alright, I have recorded an onboard, a flying lap of the Bahrain Grand Prix circuit. Here we are, going into turn number 1. You want to get onto the power very, very smoothly, flat through turn number 2. Go over the curves to turn number 3 to maximise your straight line speed. Then now you're going towards turn number 4 here. You want to brake as much to the left-hand side as possible, rotate the car in, carry as much speed as possible, and then the important part for the next couple of corners is just to get the flow right. You want to hit the first apex, hit the second apex. If you miss one of the apexes, you lose a lot of speed going through here. Hamilton locked up here. He braked and steered too much at the same time and then went straight on. I think we've seen a couple of drivers lock up going into this corner as well. They're braking too much and steering too much at the same time. It's a very tricky thing. The front tyres have got a limited amount of grip. So if you tell them, oh, I want 70% of your grip for braking and also 70% of your grip for turning, they're like, no, thank you. And then they just lock up and they skid everywhere. And that's essentially what locking up is. The driver's now going up the hill towards turn number 12. You want to hug that inside apex and then brake as late as possible. Get a good late apex on this corner so you can get onto the power as early as possible. This flying lap that I've done probably wasn't my best flying lap. I'm twitching around on the rear quite a bit, and then you get to the final corner, you hit that final apex, and you run out all over the curb. Going over the curb does gain you time because you minimise the amount of time that you're turning and you straight line the exit more, and then you come across the line to do a fastest lap of the race. Well, I mean, it wasn't the fastest lap, and then you do some burnouts as well. But that's a lap of the Bahrain Grand Prix circuit. All right. Is it compulsory to use the same tyres all weekend for all races? They're the ones used in free practice and quali. I don't know exactly what you mean by that, but essentially what happens is that the Pirelli give the teams, I think it's 13 tyres for the race weekend, so 13 times 4. They give them 13 sets of tyres, and one set obviously has 4 tyres for each front left, front right, rear right, and the teams are allowed to pick. The teams will say to Pirelli, 3 months in advance, oh, we want 6 sets of soft tyres, 6 sets of medium tyres and 1 set of hard tyres, so they'll say something along those lines, and Pirelli will give those out. So that's essentially the rules surrounding who has how many tyres. Okay, and if I'm getting a wheel or controller, I do have a wheel. I have a nice Thrustmaster wheel. Yeah, I do have. I'm not the quickest driver, really. Well, that lap wasn't particularly quick. I am fairly quick, if I play the game often. I used to play the game often, but not now since I go to uni, not so much. Leclerc comes across the line first place for him, actually, purple in the middle sector, and goes 2 tenths ahead of his teammate. So good job there from Charles Leclerc. Of course, Leclerc, I don't think made a mistake on his. Yeah, Leclerc did this on a fresh set of tyres. Hamilton did this lap on his second run because he made a mistake on his first run. But look at this, Ferrari 1-2. I think that's it, folks. Ferrari domination confirmed, and they're going to be winning the championship, aren't they? Yeah. Okay. But yeah, no, I was quite good at the F1 2021 game. In fact, I am like top 1% on most of the time trials when I properly set some quick times and actually try. Well, I try most of the time, but if I'm actually hook up a good lap together, I can get it into the top 1%, top 1,000. But most of the time, it's top 4%, on the time trial leaderboard. So I'd still say fairly quick, but nowhere near the esports guys whatsoever. Brilliant. Okay, Evan Gamer, could you explain how brake migration works? You previously mentioned it. Oh yeah, thank you. Yeah, I totally forgot about that. So brake migration, what that is okay. So you've got to imagine here. You imagine a Formula One car in its sort of horizontal position. It's going along, and it's level, right? You got 50% of the weight distributed on the front tire. You got 50% of the weight distributed on the rear tire, or approximately around there, right? And then you go to hit the brakes, and what happens is everything tilts forward. You know, like if you're in a car, someone hits the brakes really hard, you go flying forward, and so what happens is all of the weight of the car sort of shifts forwards. Oh, Albon, a very quick lap there, up into first place, ever so slightly quicker than Charles Leclerc. Nice job. So what happens then is all of the weight shifts forwards, and your braking capability, like your theoretical braking capability, is a lot more important on... Sorry, not a lot more important. It's a lot more powerful on the front tires once all of the weight has shifted to it. So what happens is the brake bias, the drivers will go into the braking zone, we'll say 50% brake bias towards the front, and then the 46% brake bias, 54% brake bias to the front, 46% brake bias to the rear. And, Verstappen's on a flying lap. Purple first sector, purple second sector, across the line, and he goes 3.5 tenths clear. Oh my goodness me. Super max indeed. Simply lovely. And it is, 3.5 tenths clear of Alex Albon. Okay, so yeah, very, very nice lap there from Max, and we'll see what Piastri and Norris can do. They're on flying laps as well. Norris purple in the first sector, Piastri is starting his flying lap. So quickly, let me finish explaining brake migration. The drivers will go into the braking zone with 54% brake bias on the front and 46 on the rear. However, 1 second into braking, half a second into braking, a lot of the weight gets shifted to the front brakes, and because of that, they will... While you are braking, the cylinders and the hydraulic system will start diverting more and more brake force towards the front of the car and towards the front brakes. But of course, if that happens too much, then you lock the front brakes up, and then you lock up, you go straight on. So brake migration is essentially what happens is while you're in the braking zone itself, while you're in that 1 second, 1.5 seconds of braking, Norris goes up first place for him. He goes, oh my god, 7 tenths quicker than Max Verstappen. Wow. The track is getting rapidly quicker here. Russell with a purple first sector as well. We'll see what Piastri can do. But yeah, I'm honestly doing a very bad job at explaining this, I think. But essentially, yeah, the drivers go into the braking zone, and half second into the braking zone, a lot more of the brake pressure gets shifted towards the front. However, if that happens too much, then they lock up. So basically, they just have to modify those settings, play with those settings to make sure that they don't lock up going into, say, turn number 1 or turn number 9, things like that. All right. Oscar Piastri, 10.5 quicker than Lando Norris. Very nicely done from Oscar Piastri, but let's see what George Russell can do. He's getting a little bit of a tow here from Charles Leclerc as well as he goes towards the final corner, so that's definitely going to help him out. We've got Gasly across the line there, goes up into 9th, and now we have got George Russell. What can he do? Mr. Saturday himself, across the line he goes, only 3rd place, half a second back from Oscar Piastri, and it's a McLaren 1-2, and they are so clearly ahead of everyone else. Oh my god. McLaren looked good here in quali. Oh, Leclerc, purple in the speed traps, 329 kilometers per hour through the speed traps here. He, of course, got a little bit of a tow from George Russell, and that's helped him out in the first sector, and let's see what he can do, but he's on a flying lap as well. Admittedly, a used set of tyres there for Charles Leclerc. There's 4-lap-old tyres. Norris and Piastri did their laps on 2-lap-old tyres, so we shall see. Do the teams get 13 sets every week? How many of those actually get used? All of them get used pretty much. The teams have, ideally the teams would have unlimited sets, but when they have a limit, they will use all of them to their maximum potential. So, they all get used. Okay. Now, let's see what Charles Leclerc can do then. He had a great first sector because George Russell gave him a tow through the middle sector. Now he's just reaching the middle sector marker. What's it going to be for Charles Leclerc? Green in the middle sector as well. And now he's just got the final couple of corners left to go. What is it going to be for the for the monogas driver. And we'll see what Hamilton can do as well. He's currently in the pits now on a fresh set of... Well, he's currently in the pits. I don't think he's coming out, but there's 30 minutes left of the session, so he's still got time to improve. And Leclerc across the line, he improves, but not enough to gain many places. All right. Unfortunate there for Charles Leclerc. Unfortunate indeed. Okie dokes. We got Gasly into the pits. Alonso's still in the pits, ladies and gentlemen. He hasn't come out ever since his issue that he had with his steering wheel. He's just come into the pits and not come out. So we'll find out sooner or later what that issue was. And maybe it was the same issue, water pump issue, or maybe not. These lap times are still slow, yes. However, you do have to take into account when they were doing their hot laps in quali, track temperature was a lot lower, and track temperature does play a big factor in lap times. So, yeah, with the lower with the slightly warmer track temperature, I think these are reasonable lap times. Of course, they will dip once we get into quali, maybe even a second quicker, but nonetheless, yeah. Okay. What was I going to say? F1 Gamer, do you do all of the practices, qualies, and race for every race? Indeed, I do. I'll be doing every single race till the end of the season. Yeah, all of the practice sessions, all the sprint races, everything. George Russell says, I'm getting a lot of helmet lift. Do you reckon we could add a little spoiler to the end of my helmet? And yeah, George Russell, basically, helmet lift is this sort of phenomenon where it happens a lot. It's a lot more common on MotoGP, or well, not MotoGP because I know, but if you're just a regular person on a motorbike, depending on the shape of your helmet and the shape of sort of your shoulders and your body, what can happen is that there is a high pressure zone below your helmet and a low pressure zone on the top of your helmet, or sort of at the back of your helmet. And what happens is, oh, sorry, apologies, I just slightly hit my mic there. But what happens is the high pressure air wants to go towards the low pressure air. So it sort of pushes your helmet upwards and sort of off your head a little bit. And it's slightly uncomfortable because it's just extra strain on your neck that you don't particularly need as a Formula One driver. So what you can do is just add a little bit of a spoiler on your helmet, which pushes downwards and balances out that force. But technically, I don't know if there are any rules in the FIA rulebook, but surely you could add a huge rear wing to your helmet to increase downforce. Think about that, ladies and gentlemen. Think about that. I don't know what happened to Tsunoda. I mean, Tsunoda's just out now on a set of soft tires, so this will be his first quali lap, and we'll see what he can do. At F1 Gamer, did you write this software yourself? No, it is called Multi-Viewer. However, you do need F1 TV to be able to actually properly use it. So yeah, there's a link in the description for F1 TV if you guys are interested. Also, be sure to hit the like button, be sure to subscribe. Hopefully you can make our way to 140k subs by the end of this stream. If we can hit 140k subs today, then we will be on our way towards hitting 200k by the end of the season. Right. Alonso is out. Yep, Alonso is out. So whatever issue that they were having has now been resolved. And yeah, he's back out running again. Good to see. What is going on with the data? Turn number 12, certain drivers going dark. Honestly, I have no idea. Sometimes you just get some glitches with these things. And not much you can really do about it. Apologies. How many chassis do the teams get each season? The teams have unlimited amounts of chassis because that is just a purely structural component. It's sort of the performance-related components like the engine, the gearbox. They have a limited amount of those. What will Red Bull do if Tsunoda doesn't do any better than Lawson? Then I think they'll rename themselves from Red Bull Racing to Max Verstappen Racing. I think that's what they should do. And Tsunoda just comes across the line there, and it's 17th place for him. Look at that gap, 1.5 seconds to the lead, and Verstappen is 0.8 of the lead, so 0.7 of a gap between Max Verstappen and Yuki Tsunoda. Not ideal, not ideal. Okay. Behrman's come over the radio. Man, that last corner is making me very confused. Yeah, I mean, the last corner, honestly, is very tricky. It's sort of an awkward corner, really. The turn number 14, because you go and you hit the apex of turn number 14, and then you accelerate out, but then suddenly the track changes its angle again, and the curb sometimes is bouncy, sometimes you can hit the curb. It seems like, at least in the Formula 1 games, it seems like sometimes you can hit the curb, sometimes you can't. If you drive over the curb, sometimes you get a little bit more grip, sometimes you don't. Yeah, unfortunate there for Behrman. He'll just have to find, have to pick a line and be able to stick to it to millimeter precision, really. Otherwise, you do end up sort of getting unpredictable results once you start bouncing over the curbs at the final couple of corners. So if they run out of a limited number of engines, do they not compete further, or do they bear a penalty? They get a penalty. So they end up starting at the back of the race. Even if they, qualified in first place or 20th or 5th place or whatever, they'll be starting at the back. F1 Gamer, do you believe the second seat of RB is cursed? I don't think it's cursed. I just think that Max Verstappen is a very good teammate to compare against. And, he's just a little bit too quick, really, to compare against. And that's the problem. The car's not the most drivable, and I think that is the issue. Sooner or later, they're going to have Isaac Hadjar promoted, aren't they? I don't know. Hamilton, though, is on a flying lap here, and he's on a fresh set of soft tyres as well. So this will be a little bit more representative of Ferrari's true pace after Hamilton did make some mistakes on his previous flying lap. And Hamilton has totally... not ideal there for Hamilton. Misses the final apex by a huge margin, and up into 7th place nonetheless. But yeah, that final sector could have really have been improved. And right now, in fact, I'm going to have a look at the theoretical best lap times here. So in theory, Piastri and Norris have done their best lap times. And if we have a look, let's see Hamilton's theoretical best lap time would actually put him quicker than George Russell. So if Hamilton hadn't made a mistake in that final sector, then that would have put him slightly ahead of George Russell, so in 3rd position. So, ladies and gentlemen, I think that is an improvement for the Ferrari team. I think they are now what you could maybe say is 2nd fastest. Of course, we've still got to wait till qualifying, but this one lap has kind of indicated that they have made a step forward, and looks good. Hi, sorry, I'm new and confused. So Hamilton goes out from Mercedes because the car is slow, right? But now Mercedes have a higher constructor point than Ferrari. Is it true that the cars matter the most? Well, Hamilton has partly left for Mercedes because they were slow, but also he's partly left because, there is $100 million check sitting at his desk if he goes to Ferrari. So I'm sure that played a part in it. And also... The team, the car does have an impact, but of course, as we've seen in the past, and as we saw in Suzuka, the driver can most certainly make an impact. And Max Verstappen, even though not being in the fastest car, he can make a he can still get pole position. Verstappen comes over the radio. The final corner, the brakes just don't work. A very common issue around here in Bahrain. I think that's partly the issue that Behrman was having as well, just not being able to understand what happens at this final corner. And we saw Hamilton go wide, couldn't bleed off enough speed on his flying lap for the final corner, and miss the apex totally. And yeah, this is the thing. Bahrain, look, turn number 1, your brakes go from, say, 400 degrees to 1,200 degrees. Huge braking zone at turn number 1. A very similar story there at turn number 4. Then at turn number 8, also you get quite a bit of heat into your brakes. Turn number 9 and 10, you're also on the brakes for quite a while. Turn number 11, not so much. But turn number 13, once again, you're on the brakes for quite a while as well. So the brakes really do take a beating around this circuit. And because of that, by the end of your qualifying lap, the brakes are still a little bit too hot. You've got this huge straight from the exit turn number 13 to all the way to turn number 14 to cool those brakes down. But still, you reach the braking zone at turn number 14 and your brakes still do not have enough still too warm. Yeah. Not ideal. Charles Leclerc with a good lap there, up into 4th place. And yeah, as I said, if Hamilton had hooked his lap up, then that would have put him up into 3rd place. And if Leclerc had hooked his lap up, then he would have gone ahead of Hamilton. In fact, he would have been quicker than Hamilton and quicker than Russell. But Leclerc couldn't hook all of his perfect sectors up together either. Right. If we're having a look here, comparing George Russell's lap times versus Oscar Piastri's lap times. Russell's here starting off flying lap by the looks of it. And if we compare them, what we can see is that Piastri is quicker in the middle sector, really. The middle sector is where Piastri has gained the majority of his time. Going through turn number 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, all of those corners, Piastri's gaining time. They're sort of medium speed, high speed-ish corners, and George Russell is gaining all of his time down the straights and in the slow speed corners. So, yeah, as you can clearly see, McLaren do have an advantage in the medium speed, and Mercedes are quicker down the straights. But obviously, those two things are interlinked. McLaren are slower down the straights because they've got a little bit more downforce, and because they've got a little bit more downforce, they're quicker in the middle sector. So it's a trade-off. You can take off some downforce, you'll be quick down the straights, it'll be easy to make overtakes for the race tomorrow. However, you could also bolt on a little bit more downforce, be quick in the middle sector, but hopefully get pole position, and then not have to worry about overtaking anyone. So yeah, loads of different options for the teams to take in terms of setup, and we'll see what they do. All right, we've got 8,400 people tuned into the live stream. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. Also, do let me know if you do get any adverts. I'm doing my best to block all adverts on YouTube. Of course, there will be the little occasional F1 TV thing that plays on the bottom right, but hopefully no adverts from YouTube themselves. So, yeah, do let me know if you do get any adverts. I will do my best to block them. And, yeah, thank you, everyone, for tuning in. Very much do appreciate the support. And yeah, hope you guys are enjoying the coverage. We're getting pretty close to our subscriber target, so if you haven't subscribed, be sure to do so. And hopefully by the end of FP2 in 20 minutes time, we'll make our way to 140k subscribers. Yeah. Brilliant. Okay. Let's have a look. Let me just catch up with all these chat messages. Tsunoda is good, so much slower than before. Amazing, yeah. I mean, we'll see. Let's wait for Tsunoda. Cut him some slack. He's coming out of the pits now. We'll see. I think he's on mediums, maybe. We'll find out exactly. Maybe he'll be out on some soft tires. What time is it now? At your place, it is 4:41 in the UK. So, yeah. F1 Gaming are a verified ad blocker, truly. Yeah, just well, honestly, like if I was watching a stream and I just got adverts in the middle of it, like, you would on Sky Sports, yeah, Sky Sports, honestly, it's ridiculous from them. You pay them so much money, and then you'll also get adverts in the middle of free practice sessions. Like, it's just a joke, really. But yeah, honestly, I would get annoyed if I was watching F1 and, an advert came up. So, I'm doing my part and blocking adverts for you guys. Okay. Max needs one more pole to get promoted to VCARB. Indeed. I mean, VCARB looks like a very drivable car, and I'm sure Max would actually be able to pull off something amazing in VCARB, and Hadjar is looking pretty quick as well in that car, so don't know what's going on there, really, but yeah. Okay. Ever thought of making a WEC gaming channel just to watch some endurance races? Honestly, I would. I was actually thinking about it. But the problem is that, firstly, I don't know all that much about WEC. Secondly, WEC races are quite often on the same time as Formula One races. And the third thing is that I'm also a student, studying engineering. And if all of my weekends are, left to commentating motorsport, then, yeah, I wouldn't really have much time to study and to have a social life and have friends. So, I don't know. I'll see. If F1 had one constructor make the chassis for every team and the teams just did the engines, how much more competitive would the series be? Well, the chassis. The problem is the chassis are all slightly different because all of the teams will want slightly different mounting points for all of their hardware. The teams will want slightly different lengths. Previously the length of the cars was slightly different. Like the Red Bull had a shorter car, the Mercedes had a longer car, the wheelbase of the car was different. So having a sort of manufacturer design, a spec chassis could work in theory, but it also does kind of remove a little bit of the innovation of Formula One. But it could be a good way to reduce spending. However, I think there are other things that could be done as well, like gearboxes. Gearboxes, I don't think they're spec as of now, but you might as well just have a fixed gearbox for everyone. Get like Dallara or someone to make them who can properly make some gearboxes. And then, yeah, I'm not sure. What happens to your sleep schedule every weekend if you're doing race, quali, and practice? Well, in the UK, most of the time the races are a decent, a reasonable time. The first 3 races of the season weren't. Australia, Japan, and China were all on the other side of the world, which means the time zones were terrible. But apart from that, till the end of the season, the only race that has got a bad time zone here in the UK that I wouldn't personally be fine with is Las Vegas. Las Vegas is like 3 a.m., 4 a.m., but apart from that, everything else is great. So my time zone actually isn't that bad. However, I do have to point out, like for the last 3 weeks, for the last 3 race weekends, like my sleep has been absolutely ruined. I was part zombie while commentating quite a few of these practice sessions. But we move, and I think the channel's still doing all right, and I'm enjoying it, so can't really complain. All right, we've got 15 minutes left of this session. We got the drivers split between long runs on some medium tyres and long runs on some soft tyres. And Verstappen once again comes over the radio saying, my brakes are really not decelerating well. And this is the thing, the teams are allowed to switch out their brakes. They're going to put on a new set of brakes for tomorrow's qualifying session. However, the big thing is that they'll probably put slightly bigger brake cooling ducts, like front brake ducts on the cars now. If Verstappen's complaining about deceleration on his car, on his lap here in practice, when he's pushing even like that extra 5%, 10% harder on a race run, then that he can't really afford for that to happen in the race. He can't afford to have a brake failure in the race, especially when the championship is so tight. So yeah, they will probably have to put on bigger brake ducts. Okay. F1 Gamer, where are you from? From the UK. All right. You guys are lucky we in Aussie know it hurts. It's 1:45 a.m. Yeah. I mean, that's commitment. 1:45 a.m. for a free practice 2 session. Like, yeah, honest, brilliant commitment. Thank you. Thank you for tuning in. Yeah. All right. We got 30 minutes left of this session, and it looks like it's just long runs from here on out, really. Because this is the sort of the exact time that the drivers in the race. So in 48 hours, the race will be taking place, right? We'll be underway. We'll be probably, maybe 30 laps into this race in 48 hours time. And in those 48 hours, the teams are going to have to, they have to figure out what race strategy that they want. And to do that, right now is the optimal time, because right now is probably going to be very similar conditions to what it's going to be in 48 hours time there in Bahrain, which means that right now is the optimal time to do all of the medium tyre running, all the hard tyre running, get a feel for which tyres are the optimal tyres to go for. Do they want to do a soft, medium strategy? Do they want to do a medium, hard strategy? Or medium, hard, medium? Or soft, medium, hard? Or what do they want to do? It's definitely going to be a 2-stop round here. And that is purely because of the fact that the surface here in Bahrain, since 2004 when it opened, it has never once been resurfaced. And this track, this asphalt, is more than 21 years old now. That's how old the asphalt is, which means it's very rough. It's very sort of hard on these tyres, and they'll wear out very quickly. And also combined with the fact that Bahrain is going to be very warm, 34-degree track temperature as of now. So, yeah, overheating will be an issue. Of course, all of the heat coming off the brakes will also be another thing that warms up those tyres. So a lot of factors contribute to Bahrain having high tyre wear, and because of the high tyre wear, we will have a two-stop race. All right, we've got 8,000 people tuned into live stream. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. I'll be commentating for Free Practice 3 and for qualifying tomorrow. We'll have qualifying at... qualifying will be taking place 24 hours and 10 minutes from now. So whatever time it is in the world for you, add on another 10 minutes. And then that time tomorrow is when qualifying will be taking place. It's going to be an exciting one, really. Drivers are going to be very, very close, especially at Bahrain, because you've got quite a lot of straights. There's only a couple of corners where you can make a huge impact. I'd say maybe, turn 11, turn 12. They are corners, of course, but the impact that you can get out of them, fairly minimal, because you are pretty much, you have a little bit of a break and then your foot flat to the floor once again. So there's not that much lap time that can be picked up, and the circuit is also fairly short, which should contribute towards the lap times being closer and closer. Simbin for Thoughts, thank you for the $20 donation. Good morning from sunny San Diego, California. If you had to choose today, which of the two drivers would you have drive for Cadillac? I would choose, someone asked this in FP1 actually, I would choose Herta and I would choose Bottas. Those would be my two drivers. Exactly like Gary Wiseman has just said. Bottas and an American driver, that would be fantastic. Okay. What are these radio messages? Are they real time? Indeed they are. They've probably got a little bit of a delay on them, really, around about 15 seconds or so, but nonetheless, fairly real time and up to date. Okie dokes. We have got 9 minutes and 20 seconds left on the clock here in Bahrain. And I'm going to have a quick sip of water because, honestly, my throat really hurts. So just give me a sec, folks. Would you rather wake up really, really early or stay up really late for a race? Well, me personally, I would stay up late. For whatever reason, like if I stay up late till, just stay up till say 3 a.m. then I don't actually feel so bad. But if I go to sleep at say 11 and then wake up at 3 with only 4 hours of sleep, I feel terrible. So for that reason, I would just stay up for the race. Yeah. Okay, where to watch for free? Well, this is the channel. This is the channel to watch for free. Okie dokes. What else have we got going on here? We got Lance Stroll locking his brakes into turn number 9 and missing the apex. Fairly standard stuff. So many drivers have done this, honestly. More than half the grid has done this, going into turn number 9 and 10. Okie dokes. What else have we got going on today? I think the Ferrari upgrades have done well, and I think that they will actually be able to potentially score a podium this weekend. I think that's what's going to happen. I'm also going to be I'm going to predict Ferrari ends up on the podium this weekend. A bit of a bold choice, really, given that Max Verstappen, Lando Norris and Oscar Piastri are all driving, and the McLarens are quick and Max Verstappen is the absolute machine that he is. Bit of a bold prediction saying that one of the Ferraris is going to end up on the podium. But I think it can happen. I'm sure all the delusional Ferrari fans, as we all were, as I once was, I remember saying to my friend, when Seb Vettel was in Ferrari in 2018, that's when I started watching Formula 1, and then 2019, I remember saying to my friend, 2019 is the year Ferrari win the championship and Vettel gets his 5th world title, and Well, unfortunately, that's not what happened. Okay. Yeah, I mean, look at this. The screen is just filled up with yellow. Nobody is improving, and everyone is just doing their long runs. Okay. Which team will be the fastest when the wings change slightly from the Spanish Grand Prix in June onwards? I think McLaren will lose a small advantage that they do have. There is a reason why they have a flexible rear wing. There is a reason why the FIA have said a rule like you're not allowed flexible rear wings, because it is a performance benefit. So when the rules come in and McLaren do have to stop using the flexible front wing and rear wing, they will have a bit of a performance loss. But I don't think it'll be that major. And given that it's the Spanish Grand Prix, they will probably offset that performance loss with a whole set of upgrades, because by that time in June, that will probably be the final upgrade of the season. Like, a lot of teams are still doing some upgrades here and there, but I think the halfway point, that is, that's it. That's the end, and no more upgrades till the end of the season, and everyone will just be focused on developing the car for 2022. No, not 2022, 2026. I was thinking back to the regulations back in 2021 when people stopped developing their cars halfway through the season, 1/3 of the way through the season, and they're like, right, time to focus on 2022. And a very similar story this year around as well. Is there plenty of overtakes at this circuit? Indeed there is. There are 3 DRS zones on this circuit, and huge braking zones at turn number 1, at turn number 4, at turn number 10, and loads of overtaking opportunities. Oh, George Russell makes a mistake at turn number 9. Yep, once again, another standard occurrence, really. All of this yellow essentially just represents drivers going slower than their personal best. So, Oscar Piastri, he's on 5-lap-old soft tyres. That's gonna be, and he's gonna have a lot more fuel in his car as well, and he's gonna be going slower than his personal best. That's why it all just is yellow. Nothing much to add, to be honest. Do you watch pro wrestling at F1 Gamer? Unfortunately not. No, not a big pro wrestling fan, to be honest. Isn't what is pro wrestling? I'm gonna sound like an idiot here, but is UFC pro wrestling, or is UFC boxing, or is WWE pro wrestling? Like, I honestly, we should probably just get back to talking to Formula One, because I have no expertise here. And it was all yellow. Indeed, just like the the yellow song, the Coldplay song, yeah. Honestly, we should play the Coldplay song and get copyrighted. That'd be fantastic, wouldn't it? WWE is pro wrestling, UFC is MMA. Okay. All right. Well, thank you for the information. You learn something new every day. I thought isn't WWE scripted? I thought the WWE was scripted. I don't know, but that's what I thought. Maybe I'm wrong, but we'll see. Someone's going to type it into the chat very, very soon. What is Sector 1 US? So basically, these are all mini sectors here. So I'll just show you. Let's go on board here with George Russell, right? George Russell's on a flying lap, and you can see here as he passes every single a little part of the track, this bar sort of fills up, right? And if the bar is yellow, it means it's slower than his personal best. If we look up to Piastri's time here, Piastri's got a couple of green ones here, which means that in the first part of his lap, he was going quicker than his personal best. I suspect that's probably because he had a toe. But yeah, that's essentially what all of this US means. It means mini sectors. And the drivers are sort of just improving as they, it just tells you in each little part of the track how the drivers are doing, rather than just the Sector 1, Sector 2, and Sector 3. Okay, it is scripted, okay. Fair enough. WWE is scripted, but injuries and bumps are real. Yeah, well, I mean, they can't exactly script the injuries, can they? Where are you from? I'm from the UK, from England, I guess. Do you watch cricket? Yeah, well, I guess watch the England Australia matches occasionally when they're on the news and whatnot, but not the biggest cricket follower, to be honest. Yeah. All right, we've got a minute 44 seconds left on the clock, to be honest, ladies and gentlemen, and this session has been slightly boring. Slightly boring to say the least. No action, no crashes, no yellow flags, no red flags, no nothing. Just lockups, and that's about the most exciting thing we've had all session long. Some quick laps from the McLarens. I'll read through the timings. For a lot of people will be listening to this just sort of as a radio stream rather than watching all the footage, so I'll just read through all the timings. We've got Piastri in first place, Norris second, George Russell third, Leclerc 4th, Antonelli 5th, Hadjar 6th, Verstappen 7th, and then we've got Hamilton in 8th, Behrman 9th, Sainz 10th, Albon 11th, Lawson 12th, Bortoletto 13th, Jack Doohan 14th, Alonso 15th, Ocon 16th, Gasly 17th, Tsunoda in 18th, unfortunately, and Stroll in 19th, and Hulkenberg in 20th. So that is the... that is the standings for Free Practice 2. Nobody's going to be improving their times, given they're all out on a hugely old set of tyres for everyone. And yeah, we've got 37 seconds left on the clock, but I'm going to end the stream early, mainly because my throat is really killing me. But I will be commentating for Free Practice 3 tomorrow. I'm going to have my, green tea and honey and whatever to make my throat better. So I'll be commentating for Free Practice 3 tomorrow, and I'll be commentating for qualifying as well. So if you guys press the like button on the qualifying stream, that really helps out the channel. The YouTube algorithm, it's like 4 times more powerful if you hit the like button before the stream starts than during the stream. And if you could also press the reminder button as well so you don't miss the start of the session, then that would be fantastic. So the timer has officially hit 0. The first car to take the checkered flag is Isaac Hadjar, and I think it was Alex Albon, and then Isaac Hadjar is second across the line. But that is the end of the session, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you everyone for tuning in, and I will see you in 20 or so hours time for Free Practice 3, and then I'll also see you for qualifying. So I'm going to end the stream now, take over to the qualifying stream, just hit the like button on the qualifying stream, press the notify me button as well, and I shall see you tomorrow for FP3 and for quali. Thanks for tuning in. Have a wonderful morning, afternoon, evening, or night, depending on where you are in the world, and I'll see you tomorrow for quali.